Yo, what's good, y'all? This Tutu from Creators Club. Listen, we here at Audio Mac and we pulling up on my guy, Nicky Chulo. Come vibe with us. You're
Yo.
good, my guy.
Too, how are you?
I'm good. How you been?
I've been good.
We
I've been good.
finally made it happen.
Finally.
Man. Can you believe it, bro? It's
can't
been
believe it.
so long, son. So
Months.
long.
Years, yo.
Years. Exactly. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Thank you for having me.
You know that, man.
Yeah.
There's always love with us.
All right.
We're gonna get right into it, man.
How you feeling?
I'm good. How you been?
Good. I've been good. Busy, traveling, running around, but we here.
So, who's Nicky Chulo?
Who is Nicky Chulo? Nicky Chulo. Chulo's a nickname given to me by my best friend growing up. His name is Oscar.
Okay.
We used to run around, go clubbing, and it was more like, I wasn't really a dancer, I was more of a talker. So he just called me Chulo naturally. And when I made my Twitter, I was like, Nicky Chulo, because that's what he called me, and it just kind of stuck. It was bestowed upon me, I didn't make it up. I feel like that'd be a little bit cheesy.
So you already know what Chulo stands for.
It's like pretty boy, smooth talker, I believe.
And you feel like that fits you well.
I feel like it was given to me, so I'm running with it.
So when you introduce yourself to people, what name do you go with? Because what's your real name?
Nicholas Fulcher
Okay.
is my full name.
So do you ever say, hey, my name is Nicholas?
I'll say Nick, but usually it's like an intro type situation, so I'll just say Chulo and people will get it. Like, oh, Chulo.
Okay. So.
Or Nicky.
Because I feel like I never called you Nicky.
Nah.
I always called you Chulo. That was the thing. That's why.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it do. It go with your whole aesthetic.
Thank you.
So where you from?
Born in Brooklyn, in Dimmers Park, but raised in Northern Virginia, so DMV,
Okay.
like Alexandria area. So came up with like the Gold Links, the Chazzes, and kind of like Wale's era.
Wale was very heavy when I was in college.
He was very heavy, yo.
When I was in college, I feel like he don't get the recognition that he deserves.
He deserves a lot more love.
He deserves a lot more love, definitely, for sure. Have you ever had the opportunity to work with him?
Personally, no. I've been a part of a couple things he's put out. I think it was a single with G-Eazy a while ago, but it was through Atlantic. We didn't really have communication like that. I do know DJ Money though. DJ Money's a good homie of mine.
And Atlantic is, how significant is that to you right now?
How significant is Atlantic to me
Now.
now? I mean, it's my 9 to 5. It's full time. I think there's a lot of growing. I work with a lot of artist teams, and it's an interesting place because it's like no two situations are the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Sabrina Claudio, and then her management. You know, we're cool, and it's like who else? Charlie Puth I've worked with, Cardi I've worked with, Sunny Digital. The list goes on, you know what I mean? And even just working on this Barbie soundtrack recently, it's just kind of like, you get better at communicating, but no 2 days will be the same. It's just kind of like, all right, this is the language they kind of adapt to and respond to, so this is what I'll say when I'm delivering things or kind of turning things in. So I think, I know what I'm doing, but the language changes for each kind of camp that I work with.
So what's your role at Atlantic Records?
My role at Atlantic is an art director.
Okay.
So essentially it's my job to make sure just visuals, artwork of a rollout get done. I don't have to work on it per se, but I have to make sure everything kind of just gets done. So if I need to hire an illustrator, if I need to hire a photographer for this shoot, I can just kind of bring the people I think work best and get it done. Or if I have a design background, so I can kind of touch things if I want to. Draw, illustrate here, patterns here, scan here. So it's kind of whatever I think kind of works for the artist and the team.
So what made you want to get into art design?
I think what made me want to get into art and design, my mom drew with me when I was a kid very often. So she was a software engineer, so she did a lot of coding. And whenever she had downtime, she would kind of draw these portraits with me. And that just kind of leaned into my affinity for just art, design, illustration. I would draw. And it just meant a lot to me, you know what I mean? And that stuck with me through my life. So that went to like comic books. I became a fan of graffiti, game design, video games, like all that was like a big thing for me. But yeah, I think I leaned into just album art and design. Like I did a mixtape cover in high school for my boy. I didn't know how to charge. I'm like, 2 McChickens and I'll do it. You know what I mean?
2 McChickens is
2
crazy.
McChickens, but it worked for me, yo. And it came out, I loved it. I thought it came out great. He didn't like it per se, and then we kind of reworked it. So that was kind of like my first time having client feedback. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right. In your head, it's like, this motherfucker doesn't know what he's talking about. Yo.
Right.
But
'Cause
it's like,
yeah.
you want to make sure he's good too. So it's like, all right.
And what's your background? Yeah?
My mom's side is from Haiti, and then my dad's side is just Black American.
So how's that, Haiti? I feel like.
I mean, it's all I know because I never knew my dad's side. It's great food, it's community, it's family reunions. You know what I mean? It's just everyone just doing their best and coming together and knowing that we have each other, even when we're spaced out and far apart. You know what I mean? We do our best to kind of come together. So Thanksgiving and Christmas is big for us.
So you said your pops wasn't around basically when you was growing up. How do you feel about that, like being a man growing up?
I never really felt the way about it. I think it's hard to know how to feel when something is absent. And I think I always had coaches and mentors in my life growing up. Never in art and design, but I was big in sports. So football, basketball, lacrosse, taekwondo, swimming, tennis. Like my mom kept me busy. I think knowing that homies had fathers and they were so passionate about like, oh, my dad, I love him so much. I think that made me want to be a good father, but it never hurt me. Like there was never a hole to be filled, just a hole that I make sure I never made in a child's life. You know what I mean?
You know, when we first met, I was doing Proving Ourselves Visually.
I love that. I talk about that all the time. It was one of my favorite experiences.
It was so dope. I still want to get back in tune with that because I just feel like just give the kids something that I didn't have in school. I didn't start knowing about film until I got in college.
Right.
You know, so and those kids that we was working with, they was like 10 years old, 8 years old. When they seen you and they seen what you do, they was bugging out. I remember that they was very excited. And I just feel like if those kind of things was in the schools and things like that, it would be way better. Like if you could paint a picture of just the curriculum in the school system, what would it be?
I think it would just be, I mean, in college, there was a class I took and you kind of learn what kind of creative thinker you are. I don't remember each tier, but I'm an incubator. So that means I'll sit on an idea and not touch it for maybe a week or two. And then it'll all just kind of come to me all at once. So that's kind of like the type of thinker I am. I'll sit on something and then just output it at the highest level. And I think just having something like that for kids, we can kind of understand better how we can kind of cater to them, attune to them, and just their learning style, honestly. I mean, I think it's creative, but I think you can apply that to a lot of parts of their lives as well. But I think fun is important. Knowing you can do things is important. Right. It's kind of like the US going to the moon. We did it to be like, there's nothing we can't do. It wasn't necessarily just to go to the fucking moon. It's like, it's limitless. What we can do is literally limitless. And that was a lot of the point of that. And what kind of teaching style do we need to implement for you? Because everyone's different. Everyone
is different. I think just to and get them engaged. You know what I mean? Make it more fun. I think school is kind of boring.
Boring shit. I mean, I've never been locked up, but it's like it's a prison sentence. You go in 6 a.m. every day and you leave at 3, and it's just.
It's funny. When I was younger, I went to Catholic school in Harlem. And my mom, she would come get me from school, and she used to be like, why every time I come get you, all the kids is busting through the door? What are they doing in there? What are they doing to you? I'm like, Ma, it's just like you just in there all day. We go out for recess, but it's about 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's nothing.
And you learn that also, working with kids is like, yo, you need recreation. You need something to just keep your mind going. The idle time is not enough. Like books, that's not enough. We need to do things with our arms, our legs, our hands, everything. So just working in the industry and stuff like that, how do you keep yourself just relevant and getting yourself out there and things like that?
I think for me, my practice is sharing my techniques and what I do kind of from start to finish. So when I work on something, I'll post it on IG and I'll share the colors I use, the fonts I use, the keywords, the people involved in the project. So it's kind of like there's transparency there. Here's what I've done. You could do it too, or take from it what you can, and then you kind of grow from there. You know, I want people to take things away from everything that I do. You know what I mean? And I think that's my sauce. I think it's important. It leans into me wanting to be a teacher. And I think relevancy comes from giving people chances. Like I got a chance.
Right.
You know what I mean? That is kind of how I stay relevant. But I don't worry about staying relevant, you know what I mean? Because my portfolio site's been down for 5-6 years. Okay. It's always word of mouth, and it's not something I worry about, but I do need to put my site up. I do, it's irresponsible because I do want people to come to be inspired and not just have to be on my IG all the time. Yeah. But I think sharing is caring, and just you know, what is it? It's not scarcity mindset, but abundance mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And no one can do what I could do. Like, you could try to be Pharrell every day all you want, but you'll never be Pharrell. You got to be yourself. Take things that'll help you grow, but at the end of the day, nobody can be you better than you. Nobody. It's impossible. I can't be two.
Right.
I can't.
It's true.
The coolest shit was when you're like, that's Uniqlo. I can never spot a garment like that. Like, I'm like, yo.
I knew if Rip that shirt was
that's
Uniqlo.
A superpower, yo. And I love this tee.
Say like if you had like a little kid, or if you had a kid, how would you like embed that in them and confidence and things like that?
I think confidence comes from failing, honestly. Like, you're more sure of something after you know your way around it. And that comes with failing.
That's true.
But it's also like reinforcement, like that was good, try it this way, good job, like just positive reinforcement.
Right.
And I think just having the space to grow and learn and fail is important for confidence. It's kind of like, all right, like it's a lesson here and you're gonna take that and apply it to other things, but.
They always say that it's no loss, it's always a lesson.
Lesson.
And I feel like that's like easily said than like done, you know what I mean? We say that all the time and you wanna put it in your head, but it's like when you fail, you just be like, damn.
It's
man.
tough.
It's very, very tough. Have you ever had any of those moments and then felt like you wanted to give up?
I'll never want to give up. So basically the accident kind of dictated to me that it's just, everything is overtime and I'm gonna just do my best time and time again. And like, I'll never retire.
Really?
No. I mean, even if I do quote unquote, I'm gonna still be doing something.
All right.
Yeah.
So right now you're working with Atlantic Records and you're like a full-time,
I'm
right?
full-time, yeah.
So how do you balance that? First, do you feel like you're like a leader?
My understanding of leadership, I feel like, is a lot different than other people's. I think my job is to make sure everyone has what they need to do their best. And people aren't serving me, I'm serving them. Okay. So it's kind of like, everyone who's like a cog in the wheel is more important than what I got going on. I just have to make sure they all have their needs before mine. Like, leaders eat last is a big thing for me. So
what you saying, like you would never retire, because you know that's the mind frame that we supposed to have. Like, you're supposed to go to work, you're supposed to retire, things like that, right?
Yeah.
With you working with a company that you don't own, how do you feel about that? And just feeling like, you know, you still giving your all to it and feel like you're just going to do this until that's it.
Kick the bucket?
That's it. So how do you feel about that?
I've never had a full-time job and not freelanced.
Okay.
Ever. It doesn't make sense to me. I love working with independent artists and helping people get to where they need to be. I find ownership in that, you know what I mean? And yeah, even if there's, like, I've rented a restaurant before, like there's just so much you could do as a designer and art director. I think I do a lot of it on the side when I have time, you know what I mean? And I think ownership is important. Like, I've designed a lot of things not related to music and not necessarily for Atlantic, and it's fulfilling, you know what I mean? And some of it brings in a lot of money, you know, and just make sure you have things for yourself. Even if it's not paid, like hobbies. I make music and produce as a hobby. It's mine. No one can kind of tell me what to do with it. Right. It's a place to decompress. So ownership is in my time and my creative energy, but then it's like, it's monetary too. So I kind of dabble between those two things.
How do you balance? Like, how do you find time to like just do the things that, I know this stuff make you happy, but how do you find the time to do other things that, you know?
I think balance is tough. It's balancing. So one week is gonna be different than the other, but you just really gotta get a gauge on your priorities. Like, what's important? Okay, like, I have a significant other, how's she feeling? We need to spend time. I wanna spend time, so does she. Where does that fall in line? 9 to 5 is this is how much time I need to spend here, this is what needs to get done. And then it's like, where does family time fall in? So it's always gonna be just kind of like a balancing act. You will never get it like 2-3 weeks in a row, ever.
Right.
But it's just like, what takes priority this week, you know what I mean? And then vacation comes, and then you reset and start over. So it's always gonna be what your priority is, and then you kind of gotta gauge your energy too. Like, how am I feeling at this part in the day? Can I sustain this? It's a lot of check-in with self.
How did you get the job at Atlantic?
I think I met someone who knew my work, who was also an art director, and they gave me an opportunity to interview at these two places. They were connected more or less. And they're like, I know your work, I think you do great here. So I interviewed at Sony. They had Arcade, which was like their agency, and I interviewed at Atlantic, and I got both jobs. But Atlantic was music, and I just wanted to do music. I feel like Arcade at Sony was more than music, like maybe movie stuff, game stuff. And I just wanted to be focused on music. So I'm just like, I'm gonna go to Atlantic, and the rest is history, but someone gave me that shot. And I wanna make sure I can do that as I kind of grow.
So as a kid, did you know that Atlantic Records would be something that you, like, was that a goal for you? Or like, what did you want to be when you wanted?
I want to be an astronaut.
For real?
Yeah. I did, I think.
Why astronaut?
I love space.
Okay.
I love space a lot. I think I'm gonna be alive for it, but I want to brand the first intergalactic music festival. Whether that's on the moon or in space, on the space station, I feel like I'm gonna be alive for that. So it's something I definitely want to do.
That's fine.
As a kid, I just do my best, you know what I mean? Like, I've done everything I've done at Atlantic independently, and I didn't even know an art director wasn't what it was. I was doing it, but I'm just grateful to just have a space to do it on a corporate level.
How do you feel about YouTube University?
YouTube University, everyone should employ and use. It's important. If you want to learn something, you go in and you learn it.
Within minutes.
Within minutes, and I think it's good for creative fields. I think it's good for music. I mean, we don't want doctors learning on YouTube University, obviously.
Right.
But any type of creative field, writing, any type of information you can employ. It's never about where you get the information, because you could go to Harvard and have a shit-ass teacher and just not even a good teacher that's just you're not receptive to.
Yeah, it's true.
But if you go to YouTube University, meaning like you could go look it up and find something that's useful to you, you gain that knowledge. It doesn't matter if you're paying for it. It doesn't matter if it's at Harvard. It doesn't matter if it's at whoever. It's the fact that you got that knowledge, and I think that's very important.
There's some people that I know that didn't even go to school for film, and they'd be like, "Yo, I learned how to edit on YouTube."
Caution.
It's like, damn, that was free.
You know, some people don't have that drive, unfortunately, and that's when it's like, all right, you need a culture partner that's gonna like push you. Like, knowing what type you are is important, because people don't always get up and be like, I want to go do this.
Right.
And they have to know that about themselves to be like, can you hold me accountable, because this is something I really want to do.
Yeah.
That's something I've learned over time, because I'll go get it right now, but not everyone's built like that.
Yeah, it's
And you
true.
just
Some people just want you to bring it to them.
100%.
Want you to do it for them.
Exactly.
What do you feel like the most influential thing you worked on? What do you think?
The most influential thing I worked on, I would have to say Cardi B, Invasion of Privacy. I think working typography on John Bellion's projects is a big thing for me. He's an incredible musician, if you don't know who he is.
Okay.
And then Barbie's soundtrack right now is kind of making waves.
Barbie Soundtrack?
Barbie Soundtrack, yeah. I did the movie soundtrack for that.
Bro, you're supposed to be standing up when you say that. You're supposed to be on top of that.
Barbie Soundtrack, Cardi, John Bellion.
Nah, that's fire.
Yo.
That is fire. For real, that's a blessing.
It is. I'm grateful.
I feel like the kind of role that you play, is like is in the back. No one ever gets to meet people like you.
Very rarely, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's interesting, because I was doing talks and sharing my story before COVID hit, and COVID kind of shut down that trajectory. But that goes hand in hand with me not having a website and not being visible. I think I'm happy kind of building where I am. I think 2024, I'll take my visibility a little bit more serious, but I'm kind of happy just in my space right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm Frank Oceaning it. I'll be back.
So before I let you go, we in Audio Mac right now, right?
Yes.
And this place, like, let's speak about how significant this place is to you.
Audio Mac is significant because I interned for them about 2 to 3 years, and they're one of the first people to give me a chance in music. I think Z brought me on a while ago when I was doing just covers for mixes. They just kind of had me touching everything at a very young age, and I was in college at the time. I was going to SCAD. It was probably 2011. It was 2012, I believe. So they gave me a shot, and I just got to touch a lot of things. Z was very he gave me chances, but he was also like, when I messed up, he'd be like, all right, that's cool. Let's roll this back and try this again. He even plugged me with different artists that were kind of like popular on the DJ booth site. And he's like, some people would submit and be like, yo, you guys have good music, you need art, here's Nick. And he would do the intros. And I could never thank him enough for just kind of how he looked out, because he didn't have to do that. But long story short, DJ Booth and Audio Mac are just kind of like brother sister companies, and Audio Mac came back around for rebranding. and I got to do the logo for AudioMac as they kind of
fire.
went into their whole different era, you know what I mean? And a lot of great stuff has come from it. Hometown Heroes, an incredible app that's kind of popping off everywhere. And I couldn't be more proud to be a part of that and just put my hand in it, because everything I do, I put my heart into.
Right.
So to see my heart hanging on the wall over here
That's
is kind of
fire.
the craziest thing ever.
That's fire.
Yeah.
So if you can name 3 artists that you work with, that's like your top 3, who would it be?
Oh, shit. Top 3 artists I've worked with. Sebastian Michael, first and foremost. I'm going to say it every time because he would come in and be like, yo, let's change this. Can we move this 4 pixels? He was big on trying a lot of different things, and I wasn't necessarily comfortable with that, but I trusted him. You know what I mean? And once we kind of got to a good place, I'm like, okay, this actually looks kind of good. So it was me getting out my head and just getting my head out my ass, because sometimes you just gotta trust someone else's vision, even if you don't see it right away. Like, I've been trained and worked with hundreds of thousands of artists, but it's like, let me actually like chill and take some direction. You know what I mean? And we've done a lot of stuff, like 2 EPs, I think, 3 projects now. Incredible projects. Sebastian Michael, definitely go listen. And yeah, he's definitely my number 1. Number 2, I would have to say Sabrina Claudio was definitely cool. I got to hire my boy from college. His name is Marquedrick Walker.
Okay.
Incredible painter out of Atlanta. So he got to draw all Sabrina's like friends, paint them in this very dope style. He didn't send it to us till the day of the shoot. Somehow it came in on time. But if you look at Sabrina's cover, it's I think it's called Truth Is, the album. Sabrina's in the center with the dress, and then all his paintings are like behind her, and it's a beautiful thing. And lastly, I would have to say John Bellion. It changes every day, by the way. I don't want anyone to feel excluded. But John Bellion's dope because he just kind of invited me to the studio. I could hear the albums, and he really made me feel included in everything. So I thought that was very cool. So yeah, I think inclusion and just being present in the process. Because a lot of artists, sometimes their managers are like, we're gonna do this, here's the concept, do your thing, here's the check, boom. And I do a great job, of course, but I just like people to be more involved and like, be upset, be mad, let's change stuff, you know what I mean? Versus kind of like being trusted to do my thing. You know, it's cool sometimes, but it's the story that means the most to me in the process and doing it, you know what I mean? Instead of just like doing it.
All right.
You know? Last
2 questions. You consider yourself a fan of yourself?
I'm not a fan of myself yet. I remember we talked about this. I have a little bit of growing to do because I know what I'm capable of. But I think I'm close to becoming a fan of myself. But I think I've done incredible things. I'm proud of myself, but I'm not quite a fan yet.
Any inspiration or like words that you would give like a younger Chulo?
I would have to say, keep going. Communicate to your clients, because, you know, I feel like every designer goes through a ghost phase where it's like they get overwhelmed and just don't talk to the client no more for like 2 weeks type shit. We all go through that. But I think let them know. Because it's more than just you, it's more than just them. There's a lot riding on it. And it's irresponsible to kind of move like that. I did for years, so I don't feel bad. And lastly, there's this phrase I always say, there's no wrong way to create. It's on the side of the hats, it's on my stickers. There's no wrong way to do it. Any way you want to do it. Copy, whatever, draw inspiration. I mean, eventually grow and evolve, but there's no wrong way to create. It's impossible.
There you have it.
You feel me?
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy we got this done.
We did. We've been talking about it forever.
We've been talking about it for so long. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. Absolutely.